Am I wrong for being rude about giving up a plane seat for a baby? My best friend and I spent a month backpacking around Europe. By the time we were going to head home, we were exhausted. To make our flight, we took a 4 a.m. shuttle to the airport and could barely think or keep our eyes open. We had pretty crap seats on our first flight. They are right up against a wall or cubby at the end of the plane and not only didn't recline backwards, but pushed forward a little while the people in front fully reclined into us. Needless to say, we didn't sleep, but it was a quick flight, quick layover, and we were praying for decent enough seats to get a good sleep on our final flight home, which was 6.5 hours. We're in a 3-person row, but the aisle seat remains empty as the plane gets closer to finish boarding. We are so excited at this point, thinking we can stretch out and share the spare seat. Boarding is finished, the seat is still empty, and we were so excited to finally get some sleep. After boarding, a woman from a few rows down says she noticed the empty seat and asks if she can switch us. We are a bit confused. Then explains that she would ask her seat neighbor to fill our empty seat so that she can have a full seat for her baby. I was super nauseous at this point and just wanted to sleep for a bit. We asked if we can switch seats for a couple of hours because we'd been traveling for a long time and we are really wrung out. She said okay. Shortly after, we were served a snack. The woman couldn't really manage her baby and asked a flight attendant to hold it so that she could eat. A couple of minutes after this, she came over and said that's it. The man is coming to fill the empty seat. We have to move back to our assigned seats and let her have an extra for her baby. I gave her a rude look and looked away and didn't say a word more. She put her baby's seat on the seat next to her, now empty, and that was that. The baby was loud, always whining and crying, but that's nothing you can blame a baby for. She then gave the baby a rattle toy, which was constantly being shaken and really loud, on top of the whining and crying. The mom also shook the rattle toy for the baby to try to get it to quiet down. Didn't work, making additional noise. This wasn't once or twice, but throughout most of the flight, including lights and windows off / sleeping time. After we got off the plane, I complained to my friend and she said I was being an asshole for acting so irritated by this woman when she was struggling with the baby. She said I should have been kinder, but that she didn't bring it up or bug me about it because of the irritability of needing sleep and feeling shitty. I'd like to get some outside opinions on whether we should just have offered the seat and whether I'm an asshole for being grumpy about the whole thing. And to clarify, the seat swap didn't happen mid-flight. She charged over after 45 minutes or less and said we had to give up the seat now. Am I wrong for forbidding my brother from bringing his girlfriend to our family events because my husband doesn't like it? My husband is an extremely religious and traditional guy, and he's not a fan of couples introducing each other to family unless they're ready to get married. He's only met my family for the first time after our engagement, and that's when I met his as well. I didn't grow up like this, but it's truly something that does not bother me at all, or else I wouldn't have married him. My brother used to date a different girl every month for 2 years straight. My husband didn't mind about my brother's dating life, but he'd flip out if anyone even thought of allowing my brother to let any of his flings visit family gatherings. My brother wasn't planning to, but he got mad over how heated my husband was over this and told me over and over who he chooses to bring over to a family event is none of my husband's business. For the past 1.5 years, my brother has been dating this girl and they're pretty serious. I've met her and so has my husband. She seems like a really nice and sweet person. They've also expressed how they may get engaged soon. The drama has started during the holidays. My husband and I told my parents that if they host Xmas in their house, they better notify my brother that his girlfriend is not invited. My parents were mad we requested that, called us unreasonable, but ended up following through. My brother wasn't too pleased and he was mad on Christmas Day that we didn't include his girlfriend. I reminded him that once they make it official, she will be allowed to come and it's not personal against her. He was still mad and said this was the last time this is happening. Last weekend was my mother's birthday, and due to the fact she spent her birthday alone with my dad for 2 years straight, she wanted to do something special this year and host a nice party. Before the party, my husband reminded my mom of the no girlfriend rule. My mom flipped out at him and so did my dad, and they told us that we were being extreme with this and they had no right to dictate who enters their house and family events and that my brother's girlfriend will tag along whenever she wants, whether we like it or not. Good. My brother ended up coming to the party with his girlfriend and he acted like a champion for defeating my husband on this one. My husband was mad the entire night and wouldn't speak to a single soul. Before we left, he only told my brother, "You must feel proud for acting like a." My entire family who was invited at my mom's party was calling us the assholes for having this rule in the first place. Am I wrong for not attending my fiance's dad's funeral because I was uncomfortable with wearing a hijab? I, 27 female, have been with my fiance, 29 male, for almost 5 years now. He is a South Asian Muslim but was born here in America while I am a white and Christian. He is not very religious, but I am fairly devout in my own faith. His family is also very religious, and his mother and sister both wear the hijab. We live on the West Coast, but both of our families are on the East Coast. But my family lives in the South, and his family lives in the North, so they are far away from each other. This is all relevant. The two of us flew out to visit my family for Christmas and New Year's. We flew out on the 22nd, and the plan was to stay until the 2nd when we'd fly back home. His dad had been fairly sick for a while, and just a day after we arrived at my parents' house, he passed away. This was unexpected, since he'd be doing better recently. Obviously, my fiancé was devastated and instantly booked us both flights so that we could attend his funeral. We would have flown out on the 24th, so the flights were fairly expensive, booked last minute as well. Of course, I was sad to miss Christmas with my family, and my parents were very disappointed, but I was happy to go support him. However, a few hours before we were going to fly out, he informs me that I'll have to wear a hijab to enter the mosque for the service and would not be allowed to go to the graveyard either. I did not feel comfortable doing this, so I told him I would rather not go. I figured if I could attend the service, I might as well just stay with my parents so we could still do Christmas together, and he could come back and join us. His father died, you want him to come back and join you guys for Christmas? This was a very hard decision for me to make, but my parents helped me a lot in making it. My fiancé seemed okay with the decision and left without me, although before he left, he asked me if I couldn't attend the service but still come. He attended the service, but he hasn't come back and told me on the 29th he'd be doing New Year's there and hasn't messaged me since. His sister, who I've always been close with, texted me and told me how disappointed she was in me and what I did was wrong. I don't think I did anything wrong since I couldn't attend the service anyway. She also said I should have at least paid him back for the flight that he got me, but it was almost $1,000 and I simply can't afford that. My fiancé makes almost 5 times as much as I do, and his family is also very wealthy, so I know the money is not an issue. My parents agree with me and said that it was important to spend Christmas with them, especially since it's the first after being engaged. They also think it was wrong for him to completely abandon me in our plans for New Year's. My sister said I should have gone anyway to support him. So, am I the asshole?
A young, enthusiastic 19-year-old girl from Stockton, California went to Cal Poly SLO to study architecture. She had a bright future ahead of her until one night in her freshman year, she vanishes. In the spring of 1996, over Memorial Weekend, Kristen Smart goes to a party to let loose and have fun as most college students do. Around 2 a.m., she leaves the party to walk back to her dormitory. However, Smart never makes it back to her dorm. Denise Smart, Kristen's mother, receives a call on Monday, May 27th from Cal Poly Police asking if Kristen was with them. That's when Denise Smart learned that her daughter hadn't been seen all weekend and all of her belongings were still in her room. Smart's family immediately tries to file a missing persons report, but local police tell them that it's too early, and the FBI told them that Cal Poly Police were in charge. However, campus police did not act right away. By the time that they start investigating, Kristen has been missing for 4 days. Once they begin investigating her last steps, they found out that she had become incredibly intoxicated, whether she was drugged or if she just had a lot to drink in a short amount of time, but she ends up passed out on the lawn next door. She couldn't stand on herself, so a fellow student, Cheryl Anderson, who attended the party, began to help her back to campus. They were soon joined by another partygoer, Paul Flores. It seems that he just appeared out of nowhere and offered his help. He gets his arm around her torso and puts her arm around his neck, and they continue to walk. When they reach the turnoff to Cheryl's dorm, Flores promises to take Kristen back to her dorm, so they split off. This was the last time that anyone would see Kristen Smart again. It took police 6 days to question Flores and 16 days to investigate his dorm, which they never sealed off. By this time, the empty room had been sanitized by the university's cleaning crew, so any evidence that might have been there was gone. While police were taking all the wrong steps, Smart's family was doing whatever they could to find her. Her father would hike every trail he could find on the Central Coast, through tunnels and under bridges looking for his daughter. Early on, a small group of volunteers looked for her as well, but a massive search didn't happen until a month after her disappearance, when campus police finally handed over their investigation to the San Luis Obispo Sheriff's Office, who unfortunately also were not able to find Smart. 4 months after the unsuccessful searches, Paul Flores was brought before a grand jury. He only stated that his name was Paul Flores, but used his Fifth Amendment right 27 times and did not say a single thing. The proceedings are kept secret, but no charges were ever filed. That's when Smart's family contacts James Murphy, a local civil attorney. Murphy and his wife, Grace Sinclair, take on the case pro bono, promising to go after Flores and put pressure on the sheriff's office. They believe that Flores is a perpetrator in her disappearance, not just because he was the last to see her alive, but also a few other grisly details that come right after her disappearance. Crime Fanatic Friday Part 2, The Disappearance of Kristen Smart. Just by chance, 2 days after Kristen Smart's disappearance, Paul Flores goes to the Arroyo Grande Police Department because of an outstanding DUI warrant. In his mugshot, he has a black eye. When asked how he got the injury, Flores tells 3 different stories. Flores also claimed that after walking Kristen back from the party, he went to his room in Santa Lucia Hall alone, but when several trained cadaver dogs were brought in to search the Cal Poly dorm, 4 different dogs reacted to his room. Remember, it took 16 days after her disappearance to search his room, so all evidence had been thoroughly cleaned by the university's cleaning crew. Each dog was brought in and gave no reaction until they reached Flores' dorm, and every single dog beelined it for his bed. Flores also had a reputation amongst the girls that knew him at Cal Poly. He was known for groping girls and was even given the name Chester the Molester. The night he split off from Cheryl Anderson, who was originally helping Smart back to her dorm, he tried to kiss and hug Cheryl goodbye. In October 1996, a woman named Mary Lassiter was renting Paul Flores' mother's house in Arroyo Grande when she found a single earring. She stated it appeared to match the necklace that Kristen was wearing in one of her missing posters. The earring was turned over to a detective but was lost before being marked as evidence. The case went cold after this for almost 2 decades. It wasn't until March 2021 when officials conducted a search at Ruben Flores' home and found biological evidence under the deck in the yard. In April, both father and son, Ruben and Paul Flores, were taken into custody. Paul was charged with murder and Ruben was charged with being an accessory after the fact. Both father and son pleaded not guilty, leading to a 3-month-long trial. A jury convicted Paul Flores in the murder of Kristen Smart. Ruben Flores was found not guilty of his charge. Flores was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. On August 23, 2023, Paul Flores was hospitalized after being attacked in prison but returned shortly after. The Smarts keep the memory of their daughter alive through the Kristen Smart Scholarship. Its goal is to help young women pursue their hopes, ambitions, and impact the world the same way Kristen would have hoped. They've also recently opened a lawsuit against Cal Poly for not searching Flores' room until 16 days after their daughter's disappearance. Details about this are still unfolding. I know this is going to sound fake, but my mom is delusional. I'm not fat shaming anyone here, but she's nearly 400 pounds and in severe denial about it. It started when her last boyfriend called her old and fat. Mom's 45 now and tries to dress like a teenager, and she somehow projected her self-image into my younger sister, who is 17. Mom has repeatedly forced her to wear clothes in the sizes that she gets for herself. The clothes are so baggy they practically fall off my poor sister. I decided to help by getting her some secondhand clothes in her sizes. But my mom always took these clothes as being in her size as well and tore them apart trying to put them on. And when confronted, she claimed that there was just something wrong with the clothes as my daughter and I are the same size after all. I tried to tell her otherwise, but she refused to listen and even threatened to hurt me when I pressed the matter. My sister was beside herself because any new clothes she got, our mom kept destroying trying to wear. It got so bad that she was hiding her clothes in my apartment and swinging by to change before school, then changing back before she got home. It infuriated me that she was having to do that, so I decided that being the nice guy wasn't solving anything. I invited my mom over to my apartment. While there, I called her out on what she was doing. She denied all of it, so I pulled out the digital scale and asked her to use it. Then I asked my sister to stand on it next, and her weight came out to less than half of our mom's. My mom blamed the scale and said it was faulty, but it read her same weight when she stood on it again. Then I pulled out a nice slim-fitting fur-lined winter jacket that I found for my sister. My mom's eyes lit up when she saw it as I knew it was the sort of style that she likes. I asked my sister to put on the jacket, and it fit her perfectly. Then I asked my mom to do the same. She didn't hesitate to try, but could barely get one of her arms in the jacket and couldn't even get the other into it. She spent a good 10 minutes struggling with it before I told her that enough was enough and that she and my sister are not the same size at all. I took back the jacket and my sister put it back on with ease. I told my mom that she needed major therapy and to stop projecting herself onto my sister. My mom started huffing and puffing and then left my apartment howling and crying. She locked my sister out of their own apartment. I texted her saying that she'd better let my sister back in or I'd be calling the police for child abandonment. She let her in but refused to speak to her. My sister threw out all of the baggy clothes our mom forced her to wear in favor of the clothes I helped her get. Her friends also contributed to some as well. However, day after day our mom has refused to speak to us, only cries and leaves the room when we try to say anything to her. Did I go too far proving my point? Am I the asshole for forcing my mother to see that she and my sister are not the same size?